What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for April 28th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast. Great weekend for Philly sports. More on that in a minute. Had a great weekend myself. A couple communions, including my own kids. Lots of time spent with family. Had some pretty good weather, minus the rain on Saturday that was off and on, but even got a softball game in. So good weekend. But a great weekend, I feel, for Philly sports. Let's start with the Phils. 3-1, in case you fell asleep like I did last night. 3-1, they beat the Cubs in 10 innings, winning that series 2-3. And that's a pretty big series win. Cubs are leading the Central. Came in hot. Phillies were very lackluster on Friday, but really turned it around yesterday, and solid pitching yesterday. Pitchers duel out in Wrigley, but Phils win 3-1. Aaron Nola had an Aaron Nola-like outing, going 7 innings, only giving up 3 hits, 6 Ks, and 1 run. And the bullpen was excellent, including Jordan Romano, who got the save in the bottom of the 10th. So maybe, just maybe, they just started off in a slump, and we're going to see what this team is capable of. But this weekend in Chicago, that is what this team is capable of. Now they just need to do it consistently, and that obviously is going to be the bigger issue. But they're off today, starting a 3-game series next week against the Nationals at home, and then the Diamondbacks, which they're always tough. But we could have some help on the way. Ranger Suarez pitched yesterday up in Lehigh Valley and looked good. Only got to 78 pitches, though. They wanted to try to get him to 90. So the question remains whether or not they will give him one more start up there or just bring him up. We'll see how that goes. Brandon Marsh made a rehab start, left with hamstring tightness. Not good. But all due respect to Brandon, the way that the outfield has been playing, especially out in Chicago, including Johan Rojas, no rush to come back, Brandon. Take your time. Kyle Schwarber extended his on-base streak to 34, and if you are keeping score at home, he's got a long way to go to get the Major League Baseball record. Major League Baseball record is 84 straight games, and that was set by Ted Williams back in the 40s. So Kyle's got a long way to go, but 34 straight games being on base is pretty impressive. But solid weekend for the Phillies. Won both games, Saturday and Sunday. 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. Won the series. Made up some ground on the Mets. They're 4 back now, so we'll take that. Now let's keep that momentum rolling into this week against the Nationals, who played well against the Mets, always play the Phillies tough, and the Diamondbacks, who have been the Phillies' kryptonite over the past few years. So I'll take it, though. I will take it. Phils 3-1 over the Cubs in 10 innings. And then, of course, we had the Eagles draft. Let's recap yesterday's question of the day, though. Did not address the tight end position, and I asked you, will Dallas Goedert be back next year? 69% of you think yes, he will be, based solely on the fact that he didn't address the position in the draft. Lots of people saying hopefully he'll be back. No, not a lot of belief in Calcaterra as the long-term answer. Still time to figure something out, but even if they end up trading him, like, I could definitely see them not extending his contract. However, if they trade him, who are you going to put in there? Unless they, like, that's such an important position, especially for Jalen. So we'll see how this goes. But thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. The schedule is set to be released May 14th. Looks like that's going to be a pretty big week. Still no word on when the NHL draft lottery will be, but the NFL schedule comes out May 14th. The NBA lottery is May 12th, so it should be a busy week for us here as we try to figure things out. It's always fun to start picking games and seeing what the record's going to be. Tough schedule for the Eagles next year, but we'll have more on that as May comes. But this is not the official question of the day. However, what's your grade overall on Howie's draft? I think with the question marks of tight end not really being addressed, could have, I don't know. It's a lot of question marks when it comes to the edge rushers they did bring in. But I'll give him a solid B for this draft. But what grade do you give Howie on his draft? Could have been an A minus if there was some sort of resolution to the tight end, but it's kind of open-ended. They got us with the ultimate cliffhanger. So now we're on the edge of our seats to figure out what the tight end is going to be. All right, let's do some quick housekeeping, or I should say who the tight end is going to be. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, @PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word. And just a reminder, there are highlights and different things always on my social media, including my Facebook and LinkedIn, if you want to see a visual representation of what we're talking about for that day. All right, so let's go to the Tankathon here. And ran simulations for both the Sixers and the Flyers. First, the Sixers dropped down yet again, dropped to the 7th pick, losing their first-round pick to the Thunder. And as I've been saying this week, we have enough data, at least 10 runs for both teams. The Sixers are keeping their pick 60% of the time in our simulations, which is right around what they're expected to do. It's 64% that they'll keep their pick. So despite the fact we had 2 back-to-back days here where the Sixers lose the pick, odds are still in the favor that they will keep that pick. And then I ran the Flyers. They got the 5th pick. And for us, they've been right around the 4th or 5th pick, hitting at 73%, which is a little bit higher than what their actual expected percentage is. But we'll take that too. I mean, anything in the top 10 for the Flyers, because with the Flyers, there's not as much stress on it because they keep the pick no matter what. And they also have those 2 other first-round picks. But really with the Sixers, this is a franchise-altering lottery this year, because if they don't get this, that means they have what they have, and really it's a ton of question marks. So we'll continue to do a daily simulation on Tankathon.com as we get closer to the lottery. But it does the trend, things are trending in the right direction for us as we're running these. It's kind of staying right in line with what it should be. Check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Lots of great things happening with their sports fan network. Go to theclashingconferences.com for details on what they have to offer, how you can get involved, and then be sure to check out their podcast wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Steven and all the guys over there are doing great things, great sports fan network. So go to clashingconferences.com to check out details. And then do some shopping. It's going to be another beautiful day. Get your shirts, get your canvas loafers, your slides, whatever you need to do. Go to Philly Goat. They always are coming out with new shirts. So go, just scroll, spend some time on their website, see what they got, get some artwork. They're teaming up with Jordan Spector. So see what they have to offer. Take some time on their website, and then be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order at checkout. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, today we are going to go back to 2016. And on this day in 2016, it was night 1 of the NFL draft out in Chicago. And your Philadelphia Eagles had the 2nd pick in the draft. And we all know they ended up taking Carson Wentz that day. We all know how it worked out with Carson. 5 years. He was not mentally strong or had the mental makeup to succeed here. Got all in his feelings when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl as his backup after the injury. We know that the rumors from Darren Sproles came out, or Darren Sproles said publicly, I shouldn't say rumors, that he wanted the playbook completely changed because he wanted to do it with his own set of plays, which is just bizarre behavior to me. But I will say, and I've said this many times, Eagles don't win the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz playing the way he did early in that year. But it really, that injury and then Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl really just broke him. I almost kind of get the feeling that if they didn't win the Super Bowl, he may have been, I feel like it would have come to light anyway, but it may have played out a lot differently. If you want to go back, we did do a Fridays with AI. What happened if Carson did not tear his ACL? And the results were surprising. He would go on to be the face of the league and competing with Patrick Mahomes. So I don't know if AI decided that knee injury really did a number on Carson mentally. I don't know. But more importantly, the lead up to this draft, this is where we see the legend of Howie Roseman really being born. He had to come in, got left out of his closet that Chip Kelly put him in, and really had to clean up Chip's mess. So leading up to this draft, he was able to trade Byron Maxwell and Kiko Alonso to Miami with their 13th pick for the number 8 pick. Like, this was not, hey, let's move up from 13 to 2. He had to work to get that number 2 pick. And going into the draft, it still was not a foregone conclusion that the Eagles were even going to be able to do that. He did, a week before the draft, though, was able to send their first round in 2016, a third rounder, a fourth rounder, the 2017 first rounder, and a 2018 second rounder to Cleveland to move up to number 2. So, wheeling and dealing. Now, the best part about all of that is, in subsequent drafts then, Howie was able to get all of those picks back and still be able to build the team around Jalen and all those guys leading up to the 2022 and the 2024 Super Bowl runs. But he traded DeMarco Murray for Tennessee, swapped picks with them too. He was able to then, if you remember, Carson Wentz was supposed to be basically put on bubble wrap for the entire 2016 season. But right before the draft, that's when Teddy Bridgewater had that horrific leg injury. Was able to trade Sam Bradford to Minnesota for a first-round pick and a conditional second-round pick. Yeah, like Sam Bradford got a first and a conditional second-round pick because of Howie Roseman. So like I said, this is seriously the birth of the legend of Howie Roseman, this 2016 offseason. There was no drama, like I said, for this draft pick. We all knew Carson Wentz, once the Eagles got to number 2, was going to be the pick for the Eagles. Everybody knew that Jared Goff was going to go to the Rams. The Eagles then, we knew. I was reading the paper the day before. I went back and looked at the paper the day before, or the day of the draft, and it was just like they were showing all these things with Carson and talking about what it would mean to him. But Howie, like I said, this is more about Howie than it is Carson Wentz, because this offseason and this draft specifically was the birth of the legend of Howie Roseman. And also in that 2016 draft, selected Jalen Mills, Big V, Isaac Seumalo, and Wendell Smallwood, who all contributed during that Super Bowl 52 run. But on this day, back in 2016, it was night 1 of the NFL draft. Eagles had the number 2 pick, taking Carson Wentz out of North Dakota State. Ended up being an integral part of us going on to win the Super Bowl. All right. The other piece of that is coming up here, so stay tuned. But we're going to continue to follow and highlight the best Eagles draft picks by round. Yesterday we did the 4th round. Today, the 3rd round. And as we get the rounds lower, some great players for the Eagles came out of the 3rd round. You have Super Bowl 59 champions Nakobe Dean in 2022, Milton Williams in 2021, Stuart Bradley back in 2007. And it's a shame. I always thought Stuart Bradley could have been a great player had he not suffered that injury on the open practice night, but was just not meant to be. But he was a 3rd round pick in 2007. Jeremiah Trotter, 3rd round pick in 1998. The year before, Deuce Staley, 3rd round pick in 1997. One of my all-time favorites, Arkansas Fred Barnett in 1990. Bill Bradley was a 3rd round pick back in 1969. If you're not quite sure who Bill Bradley is, he is the Eagles' career interception leader, tied with Eric Allen and Brian Dawkins. So a lot of good players here. Jeremiah Trotter, 2 Super Bowl champions. Bill Bradley, who is the Eagles' all-time leading interceptions leader. So who am I spotlighting today if these guys didn't make the cut? Well, as we've been doing, we'll go in the order of what they or when they were drafted. We'll start 1957. The Eagles drafted Tommy McDonald out of Oklahoma in the 3rd round. He became an NFL champion, a 5-time All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler. He's in the Eagles Hall of Fame. He's on their 75th anniversary team. He's in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame and a fan favorite at wide receiver. Ray Dininger talks a lot. He has the play Tommy and Me. Very big fan of Tommy McDonald, but he was a fan favorite, always around the team. I didn't realize this. I knew he was a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but he's also a College Football Hall of Famer. So Tommy McDonald, 3rd round pick of the Eagles, receiver out of Oklahoma in 1957. And then we're going to go to possibly, and I'll get more on this in a minute because I'm going to love to hear this debate, but possibly the best 3rd round pick in Eagles history back in 2002 out of Villanova, Brian Westbrook. He was an All-Pro in 2007, 2-time Pro Bowler, all-purpose guy, played in Super Bowl 39 for the Eagles. He's an Eagles Hall of Famer, 75th anniversary team. Just recently inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame a couple years ago. He's 3rd all-time on the Eagles' all-time rushing list, 2nd in total yards, and 3rd in touchdowns. Obviously, another fan favorite, fantasy football just stud. But Brian Westbrook selected out of Villanova in the 3rd round back in 2002. And from the best, we go to possibly the most important 3rd round pick in Eagles history. Back in 2012, the Eagles selected Nick Foles out of Arizona, and we all know the story. Legend, Super Bowl 52 MVP, the Phillies special. They got a statue out there of him, which I'll get more into that later this week, but I don't want to get sidetracked here. But very interesting career for Nick Foles. Burst onto the scene, made the Pro Bowl in 2013, the year he had 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, threw 7 touchdowns in a game, but just can never replicate that level of performance. Left, was getting ready to retire. Andy Reid called him. He was backing up in KC, came over to work with Doug Peterson then as Carson Wentz's backup. The knee injury happened, and we all know the rest is history. He caught that magic again. Couldn't replicate it to start the 2018 season when Carson struggled and ended up going down, which I think it was the back in 2018. Nick Foles came in and led them on a magical magical run to get into the playoffs, and then a magical playoff run. It's one of those guys, probably the most inconsistent career I've ever seen, but possibly the most important 3rd round draft pick of all time. So there you have it. 3rd round draft picks: Tommy McDonald in 1957, Brian Westbrook 2002, and Nick Foles in 2012. 3 of the all-time greats all bring something different to the table. We got Hall of Famers, all-purpose guys, and a Super Bowl champion. But that does lead to today's question of the day. We'll throw Tommy McDonald in there too, but who's the best 3rd round pick in Eagles history? Is it Tommy McDonald, Brian Westbrook, or Nick Foles? I know this is going to come down because Tommy McDonald is much older. It's going to come down to Brian Westbrook or Nick Foles. Who do you got? And I'm going to give the edge to Westbrook only because Nick Foles won the Super Bowl in his 2nd stint as an Eagles player. But if you want to go Nick Foles, 27-2 is not too shabby. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let's have some fun here on a Monday. Best Eagles 3rd round pick of all time: Tommy McDonald, Brian Westbrook, or Nick Foles. Get your votes in, and let's have some fun with this on a Monday. On this day back in 2016, the Eagles selected Carson Wentz, number 2 overall. But more importantly, that offseason and that draft, the legend of Howie Roseman was born. We'll have another Tankathon simulation tomorrow for both the Sixers and the Flyers. No Phillies update, which we'll take this after the rough series in New York. We'll take this Chicago series, winning 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, who were equally as hot. So Aaron Nola was still a little chilly, but he pitched pretty well. But more on that as we get it. Tomorrow is Tuesday, so we'll have some Tuesday motivation / positivity as we continue to look at the 5 harsh truths that we all need to accept in order to become better people. But no Phils today. Get out, enjoy this good weather. My name's Jim Montgomery. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for April 28th, 2025. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.